All right, welcome back. I am your host, Dark Chocolate Music, aka Nothing But Car Reviews, and of course, as
Yeah,
always, I have my co-host here.
I'm Rod615, and we're here to talk about Apex. So let's get into it, guys.
All right, so first things first, I want to make sure that everyone's kind of up on the game. Apex Legends, you can play it on PS5, PC, Xbox One. Anything else am I missing?
Nintendo Switch.
Oh, I know you
It's
play on
it's
Switch.
everywhere, man.
Okay. And first thing we're going to do is talk about season 12. So the game basically has certain seasons. So for every season, you get changes in characters, weapons, maps, etc. So let's go ahead and just talk about the maps this season. Of course, first we have Kings Canyon, Olympus, as well as Storm Point.
hmm
So first off, which one is your favorite?
My favorite personally is Olympus, which is coming back this season. It was gone all of season 11 last season when we just had World's Edge and Storm Point.
Right.
I like it because I just then started getting into the game season 11, and I guess late season 10. So I probably played about a week of Olympus and didn't even really get adjusted to it. But I just love the colors of it and just all the different POIs, and just all the different places or towns, whatever you want to call them, you can land and fight in. You know what I mean? It's just real. It just brings the whole map to life, in my personal opinion. So that would be my favorite map right there.
Okay. Well, mine personally, it's really at first it was Olympus, because of course we have our own issues with Storm Point that we'll get into. But it's kind of become a tie with Kings Canyon just because as I've gotten used to the map, I kind of like the different things that they do in terms of having what's that little gas caustic? He's got his little layer in there. I like that.
Yeah.
I also like just how that map looks. I like how it's open, but it's not as like never ending as Storm Point is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Kings Canyon, Olympus, Storm Point, they're all fun to play. It just depends. Usually, we don't like to play Storm Point because it gets kind of annoying. Just you're basically in the game for 10 minutes to die because you can't find nothing and you're walking half the time.
Mm-hmm.
But here, you go ahead and explain what you think about it.
Man, as far as my outlook on Storm Point, the map is beautiful. Of course, great colors. It's just too big in my personal opinion. I think they should cut it right down the middle in half. Have the left side of it and just kind of shrink it down. And jokes or not, that may actually end up happening because there's been way too many complaints. They actually even had to pull it out of I believe the ALGS tournament for this year just because no one's having any fun on it, and it's just probably they're ruining fights, and it's people had to travel halfway across the map, at the end of the game for the last two teams, and it's just frustrating overall, and it is very time consuming just running around. But I want to go back to your the last statements we were going over as far as our favorite maps. And I want to go back. I don't want to recorrect mine just because I do love Olympus, but I do want to talk on Kings Canyon because that is the first map that's ever come out on Apex.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it
Did
is the
not know
first
that.
first map that's ever came out on Apex. I do like all the Easter eggs that they do have on that map. And I feel like it's different than pretty much any other map in the game. For example, Caustic's layer, where if you press some button in his layer, I think it unlocks. It makes the gas go down inside of it, and then the little tubes, they have like gold,
Yeah, it's like gold
gold
backpacks and stuff.
items, yeah, and gold stuff right there. So it's just all the Easter eggs on Kings Canyon. That really does help that map out a lot because it is kind of a lot of like sandy, like very sandy kind of dead grass atmosphere
Yeah.
of the map. But it is still a lot more fun than Storm Point.
I
100%.
agree.
Yes.
I didn't know. So can you go in before you go to the next topic? Do you know how to actually open in Caustic's layer? How to get in there and get the gold stuff? Because I don't know how to do it.
Well, it's taken me a while because at first I used to watch a lot of Twitch, so I believe that's where I first uh, I watched someone do it, and then me personally, I still went to the same places they did, and it still took me about a month to figure out where that button was. But come to find out, usually when it comes to like situations like that and Easter eggs like that, those places usually have two buttons or two little podiums that like have like digital screens on them, and you just go up to it, just like in any game, and just press X or hold X, and it does what you need it to do.
Okay.
But yeah, just usually what I suggest to new and beginner players that want to figure out this Easter egg and just go visit these places is just kind of wait until Caustic Player is like off the drop and just kind of take the extra flight, out there, just so you can experience stuff all by on your own without having to fight three different teams,
Okay.
to try and experience it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, next let's go ahead and talk about gameplay in general. You have a PC, that's what you play on, and I have a PlayStation 5, which is what I play on. So, I guess for me, the PS5, I'm not as extreme of a gamer as you are in terms of just my overall credibility, how good I am. But I have noticed that, at least for me, it's always been easier for me to use a controller because I grew up using a controller. I never played PC. So for me personally, I really enjoy how easy the buttons are. The buttons make sense for me. How you go faster, you can either click the L3 button or you can set it up in your control settings and you can just have auto run on, which is nice to have. Like I said, all the buttons just make sense for me, but I want you to kind of go into detail about using PC just because that's what a lot of the big timers are using, and there's a lot more that goes into that, at least in my opinion. So why don't you go ahead and explain that?
Well, PC to me has been a real game changer ever since I played on Warzone, which is kind of what got me into like PC gaming. Because of course I've played my whole life on a console, whether it be a PlayStation or GameCube or Xbox, whatever you want to call it. And just using a controller, I kind of, transitioned that over to PC. But the only difference, in my opinion, when it comes to this game, it's just being on PC just makes you feel so much faster. As far as like the FPS and just pixels on your screen, just being able to be generated faster, so that way you're getting faster movement, as well as having a bigger field of view. Okay. It's really helped me out personally. Now, as far as console goes, they still have just as much of a fighting chance as a PC does, on Apex. Just because this is a game where, things they don't happen as fast as they would in a Call of Duty, if you will, where you could just turn the corner and you're just done for it. You know what I mean? And it's not that many close corner situations in this game. It's a lot of we're outside, sitting in this field, and we're about to sit here and stand behind rocks. You know what I mean? And shoot shots at each other for about 10 minutes. Like, you may have that situation. Where in Call of Duty, it's a big difference between PC players and console players, because console players will be a lot slower in that half a second situation, opposed to having 10 minutes to try and figure something out against a PC player. But go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to go off of that because I feel like that goes into the next topic about what we like about Apex. And I guess we could both agree the biggest because we were both playing Warzone. I think the biggest thing was just how level the game is. Like, it's based on skill. It's not based on your internet connection. I mean, it can be. I've played games where people were literally glitching all over the map, but they probably had dial-up or something. But for the most part, it's not. There's a lot going on in terms of the math, but in terms of the characters, there's not so much going on where I can't hit somebody while they're sitting here destroying me.
Yes.
Because of the internet connection or the game connection or whatever. And that's probably my favorite thing about the game, like I said, with it just being, you can level out. It's based on skill. It's not based on just craziness. So why don't you go ahead and just talk about that? Because I know that was a big reason you went over to Apex from Warzone.
Yes, it is a lot more fair atmosphere, especially when it comes to the gameplay between Apex and COD. And me personally, I was such a good player at COD that when I switched over to Apex, I was like, what the heck, I'm gonna be the same here because that's the difference between the same player base I was coming, from to where I am now. That there's just such a gap between skill at it that it would be easier, for a hard worker like myself to excel in such a game, and just having that aggressive mindset of fighting and whatnot and not playing so passive has really helped me out and helped you guys and my teammates around me progress with the game as well. So it's just far as like everything just being slowed down and just having a better pace to it has really just caught my attention and kind of brought me over to the community, and I'm loving where I'm at right now.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely feel like games are not as fast because it's not, like I said, it's just not as wild. I feel like it's actually based on skill. Like, stuff makes sense. It's not like people fall out of the sky and your team is down before these people touch the ground. And
yeah.
just how the respawn, I really like the way the respawning is set up because it's something where there's so much distance and there's so much that goes into the map and everybody's not looking like a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And you have different power-ups based on what character you get. There's a lot that goes into how you pick your characters. And then the biggest thing, which is something else I want to go into, is the weapons. I really like how you have to go out there and find what you need because that really helps you get an overall feel for each gun, how they work, and it really is. It's kind of like studying for a big test or something. I really like that because you have to use your brain in Apex. You can't just be the fastest shooter. You can't just always get a shotgun and be waiting around corners for people. Like, it's based on skill. It's based on certain areas of map you go into. Depends on are you going to use a close range weapon or are you going to use a sniper?
Mm-hmm.
So, and different characters or different people use different weapons with different characters, and it makes it all around more fun to me. So, why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
Well, just going off what you're saying, man. Walking around, I mean, the difference that I've had from Apex and COD is that just like you were saying, just building your loadout really and your attachments is kind of different because you have to earn, and work hard and go out and search, for these different attachments, opposed to just landing in on a $10,000 bag, whatever you want to call it, and then you just go to the store and just buy, everything that you need. This game, it takes a lot longer to get every piece of equipment that you need, that that you're feeling comfortable with, opposed to Call of Duty where you can just pretty much just land anywhere and just get it going on. But just diving more into that, the weapons this season that they've that have really shown out are really, in my opinion, the light weapons and the shotguns.
Yeah.
Especially with Mad Maggie coming in this season and her having her speed boost from whenever she had shotguns in her hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we're gonna get into Mad Maggie in a minute. And before we get into that, because that's a whole other topic, let's go ahead and just going off of what we like about the game itself. What do you think about? So for me, the graphics have been really good. Of course, I play on I think I have a 4K TV and then a PS5, so I really do get the all-around best quality when it comes to that or what I can get.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, I have a 55-inch Hisense 4K TV, and as opposed to playing on, I used to have an LG, like a 42-inch, it was just like 1080. It really allows you to use your eyesight to play better. Mm-hmm. So if you see somebody moving, it's a lot easier to see what's going on the map. 4K TV or a PS5 setup as opposed to a PS4 and a 1080p where things might be a little blurrier or a little smaller. But for you, you play on PC, so kind of go into detail about. I know you have a laptop and then you have like an actual pretty much built rig that you have. So how does that necessarily affect how you play in terms of the graphics that you have?
Well, I keep my graphics all the way down, me personally. I know a lot of competitive PC players that do, because usually on PC when it comes to games like that are just so they're kind of made for PC because they're FPS games. They're usually graphics like overall when it comes down to it are usually not that bad. Now, if I were to crank my stuff up, it would kind of give me a better picture. But usually the FPS usually covers that up for me since I have such a higher count. But when it comes to like best picture and best quality, console probably does have PC beat unless you have like a higher, quality monitor and whatnot. Because I mean, in 4K, it's just a difference between PC and console. The console is already gonna have everything loaded in on its, its driver inside there. So when you're playing it, a lot of your picture doesn't even have to load in. You're just already there. In PC, pretty much every step that you take is a different object on your screen that's having to render in. You know what I mean? And so that's where console has PC beat definitely. Just having a clear picture, just off rip and just going throughout the game, as opposed to having things loaded in from your CPU on a desktop.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. I've never really thought about that because I don't play on PC, but there really is a lot that goes into it as opposed to just your console. Everything's pretty much done for you. You just play the game.
Yeah.
You can't really adjust that much, so that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, characters this season, of course, we have the all-new Mad Maggie.
Mad Maggie.
So, why don't you go ahead and shout out your partner in crime, because that's her character for this season. It seems like, at least when we play. Why don't you go ahead and go into detail about her and what she brings to the table this season?
Okay, yeah, I know. I already brought up her name a tad bit earlier, but just diving into Mad Maggie and just her passive and all her different moves and grooves. I believe her passive is when she shoots at an enemy. I believe they're highlighted. I haven't noticed this. I guess for Maggie, I didn't know it wasn't for her teammates, but the enemy's highlighted for at least 3 seconds, I believe.
Huh.
When you shoot at them, so that way if they go behind a rock or something like that, you can see their highlight, I guess, of what they're doing. I guess if you want to see if they're popping a shield or if they're running away or whatever, you have info. You know what I mean? So that's a very important. It's kind of like how Bloodhound Scan is, except you just like shoot at it and they just glow for a few seconds to go away. And then you have her Riot Drill, which I believe. My bad. Before I get into that, let me go back to her passive. I believe with the ability to highlight enemies, she has her shotgun ability, which I scanned over for a minute, where she runs, I guess, about the same speed that you'd be running, I guess, with nothing in your hand, but she runs like that with a shotgun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Huh. And so those two passives are really, have made Maggie a really attractive, character for this season, because now she has like 3 different things that she can do, to just spice things up and just, cause mayhem out there. But her second one, her Riot Drill, to me, that is very effective on Olympus and King's Canyon, because there are a lot of buildings and a lot of doors on there. There's a lot of people that like to, when they get damaged, they like to run inside the building and, sit behind the door, and hold it so they can pop a shield or, or whatever else they want to do. And just shooting that Riot Drill right there that goes straight through the door, people usually don't even, expect it. And they pretty much just get torched with that. And, jumping from there onto her ultimate ability, which is her Wrecking Ball, which you throw out, and it's just like a huge bowling ball, which is crazy, which it goes out, throws many speed pads for you to run behind it, and it's just in all honesty, in a perfect situation like pushing a team, it is ridiculous because you have your whole team is just sprinting towards him. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be hard for the enemy to be able to track all three of y'all just going inside there like a bunch of apes and just destroying them. So my overall grade on Maggie this season is probably gonna be an A. I'm not gonna give her an S tier quite yet because it's not even halfway through the season yet. But just seeing her skills and just her different abilities, I feel like they have a lot of potential as far as when it comes to people that grind Maggie and, just situationalize all her abilities and whatnot. I feel like she does have, the capacity to be an S tier, but right now I'm just grading her an A.
Okay. So going off of that, so Maggie's an A tier. Why don't you explain what an S tier is before we go into basically what criteria you need to have to be an S tier character in your book?
S tier, just flat out, and in my opinion, I'll just say flat out, is just the cream of the crop.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just everything you need: offense, defense, helping out. They may not always have all those abilities, but especially like when it comes to the season and what map it is, that's usually what goes into it first before like the characters start to shine. And just given the maps that we have this season, there's not too many S tier players. Like last season, for example, Stormpoint, the S tier player was Valkyrie. You know what I mean? Because in Stormpoint, you could be bored and just be okay, let's just go fly.
Yeah.
Halfway across the map, you know what I mean? And so she was definitely S tier last season. But in my opinion, what an S tier player is someone that can support the team, someone that can provide, rotation and or like scan beacons, to get the circle, you know what I mean? Either or. And someone just that stands out in their skill set, whether it is helping the team or being aggressive, is it stands out, where we are or what map that that we're playing on. Like for example, if you're on World's Edge, having Gibraltar would be good because there's a lot of open places, you know what I mean? Where you could throw your bombardment or you could shield up, you know what I mean? And so as opposed to like being on like I guess even Olympus, you could say Gibraltar, like if you were to if you were inside Energy Depot where it's just like a huge a roof over you, then he would technically be useless in that situation. So that's what makes him not exactly even A tier this season. I just love Gibraltar, so I love playing him. Okay. But that's in my opinion, that's what will go into making a player, S tier.
Okay, so going off of that, obviously you love Gibraltar. So is that still your favorite character overall?
Gibraltar is still my favorite character, just personally because of all of his super cool outfits that he has, and because of his super cool heirloom that he has, his war club where he just twists it around and it's like a big old just molten axe.
You just unlocked that, didn't you?
I just unlocked that recently, which, you do have a 1% success rate to get that, and I've been trying. I believe I'm still below the 500, because I believe EA, they say after you open 500 packs, then you automatically unlock one heirloom, I believe, just because it's for every 500 that you buy. Okay. And I guess to a degree, that's fair to them. Just so you know for a fact you'll get one. That's still going to cost you $500, technically. But if you just want to be sure that you get one and you got $500 to spare, I guess go for it, huh?
Yeah.
But I got mine and pretty excited about it. People have been playing the game since it came out for 3 years and they still don't have one, so I'm pretty grateful for it. I've been playing for about 3 months, but we'll take it.
Okay. Well, yeah, my favorite character is definitely going to be, going back to the whole S tier thing, Valkyrie. Even in season 12 for me, just the way that I play, I like being a support player, and I'm kind of learning how to use her. For me, it's L1, whatever the the missiles are.
Missile swarm.
Yeah, the missile swarm. I really like that because if I hit somebody that's got a shield on, I know that the shield is cracked, that they're stunned.
Yeah.
And if I want to attack them at that point, I can. And it's nice that you get that back every 30 or however many seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then just being able to take off. People don't necessarily realize how important that is in a game like Apex, but especially if you play the long game like I like to do, we might go ahead and make sure that we're strapped up to fight the last team with purple shields, and they have red shields. So you want to make sure that you have whatever it takes to go ahead and finish them off. Or if you have one or two teams that you meet along the way that you take out, it's just nice having that because you also have the radar lock too. So while you're flying, you're like, okay, I got 3 over here, and it's 3 over here. So maybe we'll let them fight it out real quick, or maybe we'll third party or whatever. So that's still why she's my favorite. And then of course, Loba, Lifeline, just being support characters themselves. I really like using them just because Loba for the store and then Lifeline for the health drone, which people don't realize how much the health drone comes in handy because that way you don't have to pop a Phoenix kit. You can just keep shield batteries on you or shield cells because you're always going to have health readily available.
Yep, and the health drone, if you're in a group with your team like Penguins and you're all getting just beat up, y'all all literally can just dissect the health from that drone at the same time, which makes it amazing, honestly, when it comes to having like a tight team, a real good team, you know, and someone's playing Lifeline and no one has any health and y'all all sitting there popping bats. You know, it really comes in handy. Not a lot of situations are going to come up like that, but when it does happen, it's really handy, especially when it comes to being revived. You could pop the revive drone and then just throw the health drone on top of it. So and then you go finish doing your business or whatever else. So that way, when your teammate gets up, they have a health drone already there helping them get healed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that because it'll be for another episode, but just how Lifeline is just really, that's why she's my favorite character to begin with, just all that she does. But we'll save that for another episode, but it'll help us go into the last topic, which is going to be who is the best character in Apex Legends. And I'm going to start off by saying, I was going to say Valkyrie, but in all honesty, you could go with Bloodhound too, because the game really is, this is my opinion of course, it really is based on being the smartest player. It's not necessarily about being the best. It's about, you know, following people's footsteps. Make sure you can see them when they don't see you. Things like that really come in handy because Apex, the winners are usually based on who gets the drop on somebody else. It's not even about, because it's never going to be like going to war. I'm on one side, you're on the other side. We're like charged. It's like I come in on somebody while they're using a store, or I come into somebody, walk in on somebody while they're using a shield battery, or that their back turn and they're recharging their weapon or whatever, and then I get them with their back turn because they don't see me coming. But that's just my opinion. So what do you think? Best character in the game?
Best character in the game, in the golden hands, I would go ahead and say Bloodhound, just to go off, and solely just because of the information that he does get and his ultimate feeding off of the information that he gets is kind of like the cherry on top, because now you know where people are, now you see their footsteps, now you can ult up and move faster than them, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you can scan multiple times, and you're faster, you're swifter, and it's almost like it's not fair, you know what I mean? It's almost like a cheater is coming after you to like kill you and your team, because that's basically what it is, you know? He can scan you through buildings if you're sitting there and trying to hide or camp, whatever else. And then once you hear him go dog or, you know, or use his ult, you know for a fact that, you know, there's someone that's going to be faster than you, and, you know, and, you know, especially when it comes to moving side to side, when you shoot an Apex, just going against Bloodhound, it's not going to be an easy task. But I say that in the golden hands. My personal opinion is going to be Wraith, because she's skinny, and just how she moves around, I feel like just her movement and her skills that she has, as far as like people like it telling you when people are looking at you, and you being able to do her little thing and just like wisp away, and they be invisible, and create portals for your team. I feel like that right now, that's my number one. I don't use her, but right now, personally, that's my number one best player in Apex right now.
Fair enough.
Or best legend, rather.
All right. Well, I mean, it's pretty good talk. I'd definitely like to go more into detail about it next episode.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, I am Dark Chocolate Music, also known as Nothing But Car Reviews. And then I'm here with Rye615, and we'll catch y'all next time.
See you later.